Welcome to Alberta Football Uncensored. I'm your host, Teej Johannesson. With me, as always, my co-host, Omari Fraser. Omari, we're recording Saturday morning. We're going to hopefully get this out. Schedules are a little bit tough, but we'll get this out ASAP, so hopefully people can listen to this before the games, as we know that people love to do. Got a couple things on the docket today. We'll obviously go over the quarterfinal games. Probably won't spend a whole lot of time on the Bucks-Jets game, as there wasn't a lot to talk about, but the Wolfpack-Irish game was a great game. We'll talk about the league releasing their All-Stars and their awards. And I've got to call out a guy or two from the Grand Prairie team for being absolute idiots and not understanding how football works. So we'll get to that. First off, Omari, let's break down the Wolfpack Irish game. Obviously, you weren't there. I believe you were at a bachelor party or something like that.
I was at a wedding, so
Wedding,
for the first time we played Grand Prairie. I was away on a bachelor party, and then this was the wedding for that bachelor party. So I was one of the groomsmen for one of my best friends since grade 5 and like way back. So it's one of those ones where I was like, hey, I'm not missing this day, and it lined up on a playoff game, and I had to be there, which was definitely well worth it, and there's more football games to come, but moments like these, you hope and you wish it's only the one time it's only going to be there for.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know, family comes over football, and your best friend is basically family at that point since you've known him for so long. So, we'll talk about the game here a little bit. Obviously, I'm sure you've watched a bit of it on film. With the Irish, we had to, after our final regular season game, we had obviously really struggled throwing the football all year long. We started the year with like 5 quarterbacks, and then Memphis left, and then Paul got hurt, and even with those guys, we couldn't. We had good receivers, but just couldn't really get our passing game together. We had a great running game with LJ Dyer, but teams were able to really key on that near the end of the season, and he still did obviously really well. So after our last game, I was approached, by the coaches and by a few players, and asked if I would look at playing quarterback. And at first, I think my answer to any kind of challenge in my life is always yes. But this one was a little difficult for me because obviously, playing quarterback isn't just about showing up and playing. So I originally, when I signed with the Irish, the plan was for me to play receiver, and the plan was for me to come to practice once a week, but I just couldn't make that work. Financially, having a new baby and my wife being on mat leave, and obviously you lose a lot of money on mat leave, and I just couldn't really afford the time or the money to drive down to Airdrie once a week for practice. And so I had a conversation with Anton and basically said, look, I can't come to practices. If you want to part ways, that's fine. But his thought was, you don't need to come to practice to play corner. Obviously, you can do that in your sleep. So just come, you'll play corner for us. And so that's what I did all year. And so I didn't pay attention to the offense anymore. I didn't really look at the playbook because the plan was for me to play corner. And so when you're asked to all of a sudden play quarterback, I'm looking at a situation where I don't really know the offense. I don't know the terminology. I don't know, the sets and the formations, and there's no chemistry that I have with people, and I'm going to have 2 practices to try to figure this all out. So I said, okay, well, let me come to practice on the Tuesday of that week, and let me see how it goes. And I had a really good practice. Obviously, I can throw the ball decently well, and I can use my legs and stuff. I don't have really any experience outside of last year a little bit playing quarterback, but last year was kind of a shit show because I was getting a lot of pressure and really wasn't able to sit in the pocket. So I was kind of nervous with that. I didn't want to get hurt. Obviously I love golf and I love playing golf. And so I didn't, my thoughts are always, I don't want to get hurt and lose my golf game. But anyways, I had a pretty good week of practice. I spent a lot of time studying the playbooks and putting a lot of time into learning it, and I felt comfortable with, a chunk of the playbook, and especially the RPO game and the read option game. So and I understand football, I understand defenses. So I went into that game, and I was very happy with my game. I mean, we threw for more yards. I think I threw for like almost 200 yards on 20 attempts. I didn't didn't put the ball in the air a ton. We still ran the ball a lot, and I ran for about 80 yards. Couple read option plays, couple scramble plays, threw a touchdown, ran in a touchdown. So I was really happy with my game. It was the best passing game we'd had all year, and for only having two practices to learn that whole thing, I thought, I was really proud of myself for being willing to do it, and I was really proud of my teammates for helping me through it, and my O-line was just great, fantastic. You guys had obviously a little bit of a different game plan, weren't really expecting that. I think maybe there could have been some, speak of maybe this is something that might happen on your end.
I got a point to add to that when you're done.
Yeah, go ahead. No, add to it now. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's just one of those things where like we knew heading into because for that week I was going to be there, so the camp's going to prep the team best way I can, go on scout, give the best looks I can, just get the guys ready in the best way that I could while with me not being there. And I mentioned to her DC like, hey, and then Kelsey is like, hey, the other one who could play quarterback, because we were expecting number 4 who ended the game for Gators, right? Because I think he came in and everything. So it could be, I think Paul was out with an ankle injury. Number 16, he was out with ribs. And I was okay, like, they're down on quarterbacks. Only one in the team that has experience at quarterback is you. So I was like, hey, defense, if you can, watch some film of Teej playing quarterback. So, I let the defense know, shared some playlists from last year, because I try and keep all the film from last year. So they had an idea of it. And then, of course, Bucks to now with Irish, it was a different kind of game there, but I think we weren't as surprised, which I think that was probably the thing you guys are wanting. But I had a thought of it as like, hey, it could happen. Let's watch some film on and go from there.
Yeah, and it was funny because when I went out for my warm-ups, Daryl was sitting on the bench, and I saw him watching me warm up, and he was kind of had this curious look on his face, like, he's doing quarterback stuff. What's going on? So I know he probably went into the locker room and said, T just playing quarterback. So, it's still like, it was nice because, we ran a lot of read option stuff, which I'm comfortable with. And, I think the first play of the game, we ran it and the ends crashed hard. And so the second play, I pulled it and ran for like 40 yards off the read option. And then after that, your ends were pretty frozen. Like they didn't really know what to do, which is kind of cool about the read option, because if you get to the point where it's like you got to make a decision, right? If you're an end and you LJ's a hell of a running back, obviously one of the best to ever do it in the Canadian Junior Football League. So you can't just disrespect him. So you either got to go with him, but if you go with him, I'm going to pull it, and that's how I scored one of my rushing touchdowns too. But that was fun. Like I had a lot of fun with that, like being able to kind of manipulate the defense. But to the credit of your defense, like you guys clearly were locked in. Like we were able to, like I said, we moved the ball much better in the passing game than we did the first time against you guys. But you guys actually did a pretty good job against the run. You went to basically a 5-man front a lot of the game and played cover 0, which we were able to take a little bit of advantage of in the passing game. But that definitely kind of helped you guys in kind of slowing down the run and being kind of like a bend not break type of defense, which was I think a little bit different than last time we played you. You guys broke a lot when it came to the run game. So obviously you guys had a good game plan, and it was a really fun game. I think obviously like playing quarterback is fun. Like, I'm not going to lie, like it's fun to have the ball in your hands. It's fun to read defenses. It's fun to throw the football. It's fun to run with the football. Like I really had a lot of fun, and that was a really fun game. And I thought, the biggest disadvantage for us with me moving to quarterback was the fact that I couldn't, I didn't play DB, right? So we had some guys in there that weren't used to playing a whole lot, and Daryl kind of took advantage of that. So, but it really came down to we scored a touchdown to take the lead, and we botched the snap on an extra point, which is unfortunate. So instead of being up by 3, we're up by 2, and then. What I actually loved about what you guys did is on the last drive of the game where you ended up kicking a winning field goal, you actually ran the football, which is crazy because obviously no one expected that. And Daryl just obviously being smarter than everyone else ran the football multiple times, which actually got you guys into field goal range. And I do want to make a quick shout out here to Memphis, who kicked that winning field goal, because Memphis took a lot of blame, I think, from himself and probably from others for a poor punt in the first game, which led to us being able to return it and win the game. And he went out there to kick a field goal with no fear. And I don't think people that have not kicked a football before, either punted or kicked a field goal, understand. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of guts. It's really easy to be like, fuck, if I miss this, I'm going to feel as shitty as I did, the other day. Like, he misses that, they lose the game, and then he's got to sit with 2 times where he, messed up in the kicking game. It's easy to be like, I don't want to kick this, or, Daryl go for it, or someone else kick this. But he came out there, and I guarantee you, I promise you, because I've been there before as a kicker in these situations, his heart, and it was a 20-yard field goal, but it doesn't matter. Like, it was from the right hash, and kicking a 20-yard field goal from the right hash is tough because your angle is really awkward. So really huge props to Memphis for having the courage, the tenacity to get out there and want that kick, and then to make that kick. Even though we lost the game, I got to play with Memphis for a little bit when he was on Airdrie, and I really like Memphis. As a fan of the game, I was happy for him. I obviously, if he missed, we win the game. But to be real with you, I would have hurt as a football fan to see Memphis miss that field goal and have to, because I know I can sympathize with the pain of what that would be like. So I think that's a huge congratulations to Memphis for so many reasons. Obviously, against the team that he was with before, the way the first game ended, to come out there and to kick that and to kind of have ice in his veins a little bit is really impressive. And I was really proud of Memphis as a football player, as a human, as a man, to just get out there and want that opportunity. So what were your thoughts when you kind of saw the score and the result of the game?
At that point, I was watching the live stream at the wedding, so we're once the reception. I was stepping out on the balcony and being like, "Hey, I see we're running the ball," and then I think I watched the last kick, and then I see it go through, and I was like, "Nice!" And it was poetic justice just with how, again, I know when Memphis spent some time with Irish, back with us, missed the punt, and he made it. And I definitely want to add on to the flowers for Memphis, where he didn't show any no drawbacks. He wasn't he owned it, and then he was ready to attack it, and he's been attacking it in practice and everything, and then it just showed, because that was one thing where it's so easy for the 6 inches between our brain to where we just get in our heads, and all week, all prep time for that, Memphis didn't show any sign of it hitting it, getting his head or anything like that. He just came at, did his work, all his routines, and and made a great football play there, which I definitely want to congratulate him on that. And I know I've seen him and everything, and talk about the punt and everything, but just seeing how the way he handled himself with that, and how he handled himself heading into this week with our upcoming match with the Gators, he's locked in and ready to go. So it's bittersweet. One of those bittersweet moments of just the downs, but you also got to celebrate the ups, and it's been a great. I like to call it journey of football, the journey of football you have in your career. It's definitely one of those etched moments where I went this team, that team, missed one, cost team, but then also got it back. Imagine that storybook chapter, right? That's an exciting chapter of football right there for yourself.
Well, that's that's a movie script right there, right? And I think that's what's so great about football. And when I coach the kids that I coach, and we're going to start on Monday in our high school season, I'm really looking forward to that. It's all about overcoming that adversity. That's what's so great about football, and in relation to life, is you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna have terrible moments, heartbreaking moments that sit with you, that make you lose sleep. And we've all been that. If you play football long enough, I'm in my 25th year of football over my entire career now, and you just, there's so many moments that you look back and it breaks your heart. You lose sleep over, you can't stop thinking about, but you come back and you get the big moments, and then all the negative stuff doesn't matter because you've overcome that. And so I think it's just a real display of Memphis's character as a person to be able to come back and do that, because it's not easy. And most people don't understand that. Kicking is my least favorite thing. Kicking field goals is my least favorite thing to do in football. It's just all eyes are on you. Nobody ever thinks about, hey, this has got to be a good snap. It's got to be a good hold. You miss a field goal, and it could be a bad snap or a bad hold, and no one notices. It's all on you. All eyes are on you. So my least favorite thing to do, I'd much rather, and quarterback is right there too, but I'd still rather play quarterback than kick a field goal. It's tough, man, and especially when the game's on the line and your team is counting on you. And because of what happened in that last game, like, it was so easy for him to just fold right there. Just not do the kick. Just say, my knee hurts, I can't do it. Like, I've seen guys do that before, man. Like, honestly, like, people are scared of the pressure, but he wasn't, and he deserved to make that kick. And so even though we lost the game, I was, on a personal level, I was happy for Memphis. As a fan of football, I was happy for Memphis, so really good for him. Mm-hmm. The Jets-Bucks game was obviously, congrats to the Bucks for showing up and getting out there and going to Cold Lake. And there's so many Warriors on that team that obviously they knew they were going to lose. I mean, you can't go in there and think you're going to win that game with 16, 17 guys. But the fact that they took that road trip up there, and I was proud of those guys. And obviously I've played with most of them. There's a lot of dudes on the offensive line that are just, warriors out there and give their all. And so I'm really hoping that the Bucks can get their stuff back together. I've talked about this. Like, my plan is to play for the Bucks next year. I want to play for the Bucks next year. I need them to get their shit together, obviously, and I'm hopefully going to be a big part in that and recruiting and getting the numbers up. But just really proud of those guys for what they did and going up there and battling. I know that couldn't have been easy. Obviously, it's a long road trip from Red Deer, so I haven't watched the film. I didn't really think there was a point, obviously, to watch the film for any kind of reason, so I don't really know how it went, but 60-0 or something like that. So not a lot to talk about there, but let's move on to your game this week, or the games this week. First off, let's talk about the Grand Prairie. Actually, yeah, let's talk about the Grand Prairie game. So, actually, though, let's take a step back. Let's talk about a guy. So, we're going to kind of get into All-Stars here a little bit, but I've got kind of a bone to pick with a certain player on Grand Prairie who, at this point, is just like, I haven't talked about him before, even though this guy's been like been trolling me for 2 years. I don't even know who he is, so we're going to talk about this. So, All-Star list got released, and I was named to a first-team All-Star as a DB, which is 100% deserved. I'm not saying that because I'm me, but because I know what I did and where the stats don't lie about where I was. The fact that it's so funny because there's always so many complaints about All-Stars, and there's always snubs on All-Stars. For example, Peter Lee on your team should have been a first-team All-Star. Like, there's no question. There's no question about that. That's a massive snub. Should have been a first-team All-Star. Isaiah Rogers from Grand Prairie should have been a first-team All-Star. There was 2 first-team All-Stars from Grand Prairie at DB, and neither of them were Isaiah Rogers, who was the best DB on that team. So that was obviously a joke, and he should have been on there. But when you put things in perspective, when you look at how because people are often really just stupid. Like, a lot of people are just stupid and don't think through their thoughts before writing them on Facebook. That's the biggest problem with social media is we have a lot of stupid people that don't actually think before they write something on Facebook. Grand Prairie had the easiest schedule in the league. The only reason Grand Prairie finished second place is because they had the easiest schedule in the league. They played the worst team in the league, the Bucks, twice. Those are 2 automatic wins. They played the Jets when the Jets just didn't want to show up half their team, and they barely won the game. Grand Prairie is going to get smoked today if the Jets show up, which I expect them to do with all their players. Smoked. Okay? Now, I predicted in the first game that Grand Prairie would actually beat the Jets because I knew the Jets were traveling light. Grand Prairie lucked their way into second place. And if you're mad about that, Grand Prairie, you can cry me a river and go on Facebook and complain without thinking about it. But think about this. If the Irish played the Bucks twice, the Irish would have been second place. 2 automatic wins. We played the Gators twice, which is for everybody in the league, whoever played the Gators twice, is 2 automatic losses. So the only reason that Grand Prairie finished second is because they had by far the easiest schedule in the league. So they're all high and mighty about all this stuff, and they think that all their players should have been All-Stars. Well, when you play the Bucks twice, you're going to put up a lot of stats on both sides of the ball. You better. I would just like to remind Grand Prairie that when they came and played the Irish, we spanked them 40-0. So they're not very good. To be honest with you, they lucked their way into second place. And the only reason I'm even really coming after him is because I'm annoyed with the fact that they got to where they are because they had by far the easiest schedule in the league. By far, it wasn't even close. If they would have had if we switched schedules with them, they would have. Well, let's see. They would have lost to the Gators twice. If the Jets actually showed up, they would have lost to them. So they would have been lucky to have 2 wins on the year. If they had our schedule, the Irish schedule, who had the Gators twice. Anyways, it is what it is. They finished there. So, but my problem is with a certain guy. His name is Samson Coward. And normally I don't like to call guys out on this, but this guy, I don't know who he is. Never heard of him, except for the fact that he's been trolling me for 2 years. Every single time I post something or something gets posted about me, like being an all-star, it happened last year too. I was first team all-star last year. He comes on there. Oh, Teej shouldn't be an all-star. Like, who the fuck? I don't even know who you are. This year, he says that because I'm a first team all-star, it nullifies the entire list, as if somehow I'm the worst player in the league, and the fact that I'm a first team all-star nullifies the entire list. Well, Samson, first of all, never met you, never heard of you, never see you on the stats, never seen you on the field, have no idea who you are. At first, I thought this guy was like a troll, like that wasn't even a real person. But apparently this guy is a real guy, and he actually is on Grand Prairie. Never heard of him, never done anything in the league. I don't know what I did to him or what I did to his family or something, or maybe it's in a past life, but he like gets off. Like, I live rent-free in a guy's head that I've never met in real life and have no idea who he is. So he comes on and says that because I'm a first-team All-Star, it nullifies the entire list. Well, Samson, a couple things that I'm going to talk to you about right now. Maybe he wanted to be on the podcast. Maybe he wants me to talk about him on the podcast. So for 2 years you've been trolling me. I haven't said anything to you, so now I'm going to, because you're annoying the fuck out of me. So first of all, the stats don't lie. I had a great season. I had this season I had 15 targets against me. Out of those 15 targets, there were 4 catches on me. My yak yards were 0, which means any catch on me was immediately tackled by me. 0 yak yards. I had 6 knockdowns and 3 picks. So if you want to do the math, that's out of 15 targets, 9 of them were either picked or knocked down, and 4 of them were caught for 0 yak yards. So, I mean, those stats don't lie. Also, on top of that, I covered the best receiver on every team that I played all year. I played the Gators twice. Go watch the film of me and the Gators and tell me how many catches their best receivers had against me. By the way, it was 1, just so if you don't want to go watch the film. And it was on a screen to Ben Nadek that went for 6 yards, and he stiff-armed me in the face, which kind of hurt, which was kind of funny. But 1. So I played them twice, covered their best receivers, followed Xavier's side the whole game. In the second game, had multiple knockdowns and a pick against an ex-Heck Crichton Award winner. So stop fucking being an idiot and making yourself look stupid, and actually think before you make a idiotic comment about how me being a first-team All-Star nullifies the entire list. Now, on top of that, his last name is Coward, which makes sense, obviously. That makes sense. He's from a family of cowards. Now, I'm not that. You take that how you want it, but his entire family are cowards. His entire lineage is cowards. These are the people, his family and him are the people that show up to a par 5 on a golf course and use a pitching wedge. These are the people that are 120 yards out from the green and putt it. Okay? These are the type of people that the cowards are. So, Samson, I've got a challenge for you. I'm going to invite you onto the podcast to defend your idiocy and your moronic comments. So you're free to come on the podcast at any time. And this is real. I'm dead serious about this. Next year, when we play you, Samson, at halftime of our game, I'm going to challenge you to something. So we're going to set this up. It's going to be an AFU challenge. Me versus you, Samson, because you like to talk so much shit about me. I'm going to cover you it's one-on-one. I'm going to cover you for 5 reps. You can pick your quarterback. And you're going to cover me for 5 reps. And we're going to play at $100 a rep. So you're going to bring $1,000 cash, and I'll bring $1,000 cash. 5 reps, me covering you. 5 reps, you covering me. $100 a rep. And I'm dead serious. We're going to live stream it on the YouTube page. We're going to live stream it on the Alberta Football League or Alberta Football Uncensored Instagram. And it's $100 a rep. So that's the open challenge to you, Samson. I don't even know who you are. Like, maybe you're just an amazing player and I'm going to lose $1,000 cash. I'd like to see that happen. And then on top of that, we're going to golf beforehand, and we'll play $100 a hole doing that as well. Because I think you've got a golf shirt on your profile picture there too. So it's time to put your money where your mouth is. I'm sick of these fucking online trolls coming and saying stupid shit. There's a couple guys from the Jets too, and listen, like, I get it. Ever since we started the podcast, Omari, I've become very popular, very fun for people to try to talk shit to, which is great. Like, I want that, because what it tells me is that you listen to the podcast and you love the podcast and you love the sound of my voice and you probably use it to help you fall asleep because I got a very soothing voice. I get that. What's funny, Omari, your own team trashed the podcast. They're like, you have the worst podcast. Your podcast sucks. And I turned to them and I said, you realize Omari's on the podcast, right? And they just shut up on the side. They're like, oh, yeah, I guess that's true. I'm like, again, people don't think before they say shit. Like, when people start talking shit about me, they're, oh, go to the podcast, go to the... That, you're just telling me you know about the podcast and you listen to the podcast, which we love, so I love that. So, but again, people don't think. There's guys on the Jets who are competent, and because I'm obviously a well-known figure now because of the podcast in the AFL, I'm an easy target for people. There's people on the Jets that say, oh, Nicholas Cousins had a better season than Teej. And so I said, in what metric? I had more picks than Nicholas Cousins, had more knockdowns than him, had more touchdowns than him. So in what metric? So I get that you want to defend your own player, but stop saying stupid things. Like, you can't objectively say that a guy had a better season than me when I had played less games than him and had better stats than him. So stupid things from the Jets players, stupid things from Samson Coward and the Coward family, stupid things from other guys on Grand Prairie. And Grand Prairie, you're going to get your asses absolutely smoked if the Jets show up this week. So I'm a little bit, going off, obviously, and it's more for fun than anything. It's good for the podcast, but there's a little bit of seriousness to it as well. So anyways, what are your thoughts on the Grand Prairie Cold Lake game, Omari?
Cold Lake game coming up.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see Jets on the road. Is this the first time that they've been on the road now for playoffs? Because every time I think they've seeded, they've always been either top 1 or 2. I've primarily one in the time that I've known them, and they've always been at home. So this is now where it's on the road, Road Warriors, got to go. So this is now where I'm interested to see how well they travel in the playoffs, which I'm going to imagine they do. I believe they're getting a bus. They should be in good hands there. Pack the bus, nice little 5 or 6 hour drive and go play. So that's where I'm interested to see now, where the script kind of flips on the story of where it's always been at home. Jets, it's easy to play, and then for Grand Prairie too, despite them having the easiest for regular season, they have a chance now to take it all. They got organization of the year, which I do think they rightfully earned. In the growth and development they've done. Chaz done a great job just to elevate them year by year, and everyone always has those high hopes for Cowboys. And then a game like this is now to seal the deal, where they seal that deal. I can only imagine for next year, more sponsorships, more traction, more talent, all that stuff. So, I'd say this is a case here where Cowboys win this game. The outlook for them shoots even higher. Jets lose this game. It turns a story in the chapter books for Jets of always been a dominant team to maybe then not making it to the finals for the first time in 3 or 4 years. I'll have to double check the books. So a lot of storylines at play here.
Yeah, and I think the big storyline for me is the fact that you have a very motivated Jets team. You have a Jets team that is pissed off that they lost. You have a Grand Prairie team that is a little bit high on themselves, higher than they should be. I wouldn't want to be Grand Prairie today if that Jets team shows up with their full complement, as motivated as they're going to be. I don't think it's going to be close. I think, and again, I'll repeat myself, I picked Grand Prairie to beat the Jets, and I was correct, even though everyone laughed at me in the first game, because I knew that the Jets were going to be shorthanded. I think the Jets, as long as they show up with everyone, are going to win by 30 to 50 points today. I don't think it's going to be even a little bit close. I think that Grand Prairie cannot hang with a full, healthy Jets group. And I don't think this Jets group is obviously as good as they have been in the past. I mean, they're clearly not. I think the Gators are going to win tonight big, obviously, and I think the Gators are going to win big in the AFL final, and I think the Gators are going to win big in the national championship. I don't think there's any other story about that, but I hope that it's the Jets that win, because at least the Jets will give them a better game than Grand Prairie is going to give Calgary. So I think the Jets are going to be the motivated group. I think they're going to get up early and get up quick. And I hope they do, because Grand Prairie has now pissed me off. And now I like a lot of the guys that are on Grand Prairie. There's like Chad's done a great job with the organization. Is a good player. They've got a kid up there named Dominic Fudge who played for the Bucks last year, who I really like and is a hell of a football player. So they've got number 5 there, I think Ty Cluett, who is just an absolute baller. Like, love the way that he goes around and plays his game. But Samson has just pissed me off, and now I hope they get their asses kicked. So that's how I feel. If I'm wrong, then I'll eat my words, and that's fine. But yeah, I hope the Jets absolutely kick the shit out of Grand Prairie today, and I think they will. Okay, moving on to your game. What's practice been for you like? Here's what I didn't like, Omari, last week, and this is about your team. So I don't. When that game ended, a lot of your guys were like crying on the field and acting like they had just won the Super Bowl. I don't love that, because clearly the mission is not done yet. You won a game by 1 point. It's a rivalry game. I get that, but the celebration for me was over the top. Not because they won and they beat my team. I'm speaking from if my team did that. Like, if we had won that game and guys were like falling to the field, like guys on your team really like collapsing to the field, like that. I've only collapsed to the field when we won a championship. So I don't like that, because I feel like that can be a little bit, hey, we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. Like, obviously you have a tough task at hand, but crazier things have happened, right? Like maybe you get a game where you get all the calls from the refs. Maybe you get a game where you get all the bounces. Maybe Daryl just doesn't miss. Maybe, an injury happens to the Gators' key players and it keeps you in the game. Like, maybe you get a special teams break. Like, there are ways that you guys can win this game. So how has practice been? Has it been, have you felt like guys are content with winning one game, or have you felt like guys are like, hey, we can come and do this?
Definitely, guys can come and do this. And we all know that with the upcoming challenge of the Gators, it's a tall mountain. It's a tall mountain. It's a tall task. We know that. But heading into it, this is now where we feel like, all right, we have a chance to give the Gators those fits heading into this game. If we can help, and like one other thing too that I told the team, like, hey, this is the first time that we're going to be playing the Gators with Johannesson. So this is that adds that dynamic of now where I think Daryl's hot. He's been slinging it. I definitely feel like we can carry that momentum forward. One thing I'm going to tease the Gators here now is, hey, if you guys want to kind of stress test your DB core, just send 3 players and drop back into like cover 11, cover 10. Like, just drop everybody back. Let Daryl see if he can find some holes. Keep it easy, light and breezy.
10. cover 10 is a great play call name. All right, boys, cover 10.
Keep it light and breezy, But I feel like there is a test at hand here to where then I feel the Gators are going to want to, see how, like, hey, how do we match up against outside of their own quarterback with Chris and who else and Rayshawn in the league who've really tested them. Like, hey, like Daryl Leeson's that one where it's like he's that one dynamic. Let him test us here for a second. Like, let's see now how we match up, because if we match up great, they can say what they want. If they need some moments to refine things, this is a great time to see it, because the Gators haven't really been tested. I think they know that, where it's just like, hey, no one's really tested us, no one's really scored on us. If this is a game here now too, where if we can come in and really say, hey, look, we're going to put up, Wolfpack. Let's say we put up 14 points. That's going to be the best. I think the Cold Lake put up 14 points on them, but if we can do that, that'd be great. Are you trying to say hello?
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, say hello to the fans. um, and then this is now where it's gonna it's gonna be interesting to see just how we line things up. So I think practice has been great. Tendency's been great. Attendance has been great. Um, that's one thing where I've just said, hey guys, look, it's another day for us. We're still climbing up here. And like, it's tough for me to say what was on the sorry, she didn't touch anything there on like the end of the game last game, because I think I saw like the clip. I saw like the clip of it, and I was like, okay, we won. Didn't see much of the bench, but at least I'm happy to see the energy heading into practice of the guys where they wanted to, hey, we got to get into it. We got to practice. I think the one big thing that really helped us against you guys was inside run. The amount of times we ran inside run for the last two practices against you guys was key. And now heading to this game, it's similar kind of thing going against Bryce and everything. So that's kind of what we're seeing. And I feel good. We understand the tall task, but I mean, end of the day, it's the attempt that matters. I think the one dynamic that Daryl brings is a boxer's punch. If this is a game that maybe Daryl goes blow for blow, like could you imagine that game where it's 45-44, Gator, Wolfpack, Gator, like that'd be a game where everyone would be like, oh my God, like, Daryl's been dicing up the DBs. Or if it's a game where it's 50-0, hey, we slowed it, but it's not 80-0 compared to what it was last game, or there's some improvement, or it's, 30-10, whatever it is, it's going to be a game where I'm going to follow Josh Yee's mantra here and just keep fighting to the end.
Well, and that's exactly it. Like you've got an opportunity. You earned your way to be here. You guys have honestly had a really good season, and I think again you have a chance with Daryl there. Obviously I think that the Gators are probably going to win and probably going to win. They haven't had a game since they've been back in the league that's been within 30 points, so it's hard for me to predict anything differently. But they it's hard because like you can scheme against them to maybe stop the run, but Bryce is just so good. Their offensive line is just so good. It's just you're not going to hold Bryce to under 100 yards. Like that 100 yards would probably be he would consider a bad game for him, and that's like still an amazing game because he's just that good and the O-line is that good. And but when you add on top of it the way that Chris can obviously throw the football, and I'll be honest, like your DBs are very, very eyes in the backfield. It's going to be a problem, I think, if your eyes are in the backfield as a DB against this guy. He's gonna light you up. So if I could throw for almost 200 yards at having two practices in, I'm pretty sure Chris Merchant can do a lot better than that. So it's tough. I mean, like, I think you guys are going to be in tough, but I hope it's a good game. Like, I hope that you guys can march the ball. I think the biggest thing for you guys, if I'm game planning and like, okay, how do the Wolfpack win? It's possessing the football, like long drives, like keep the ball out of the Gators' offensive hands. Like, if you can just pick up 7 yards here. And this is what Daryl is really good at. Like, Daryl is good at long drives that maybe don't always end in points, but flipping for you guys, for me, it's like possess the football as long as you possibly can. Run plays that allow you to possess the football as long as you possibly can, and win the field position battle. Like, make them have to drive. Like, make them have to go on long drives. Because if you go on long drives and make them have to go on long drives, that's going to eat up, obviously, the amount of points that they can score, right? So if you eat up the amount of points that they can score, that means you're automatically going to stay in the game. So I think that's the big thing for you guys is play calling to enhance your ability to march down the field, and then, keep, even if you have to punt from your own 30 because you can't kick a 37-yard field goal, like punt it. Get them down to, pin them deep and make them have to travel the whole field. And they can obviously do it, but make them have to, do a 7-8 minute drive to score 7 points. Like, I think if you guys make them have to do 7, 8, 9 minute drives and they score 7 points, that's a win for you guys, because the Gators are a team that can score 7 points in in 2 minutes and
Yeah.
13 points in 5 minutes. So if you can make them have to score 7 points in 9 minutes or something like that, like you're going to be in the game, right? So I think that's a big thing for you guys. I'm looking forward to watch it. What time's that game start? 6:30, 6 o'clock?
6:30. Locker rooms
6:30.
open up at 4:30. I'm gonna get there at 4, and we're gonna I need to find someone to try and live stream it to YouTube. If anyone's at the game, anyone who wants free entry, come and live stream the game. We'll get to you get in, you get to live stream the game and go from there. But, yeah, no, it'll be a good game. I'm hoping it to be a good game, hard battle. If it's our last game, cool. I want to see us fight to the end, see what we have, and give guys that chance to like, hey, I laid the entire clip out, emptied the clip, and I have all off season to reload, and I'm ultimately using this as a gauge to like, hey, like how close are we now? Because I think when I look at the overall growth of the Wolfpack, we've definitely grown to where we've been in some more games, more than what people thought, all those good things, and now what do we need to do to take that next step to next year? 'Cause I think this is a great game to counter, like not say counter, but use as a barometer of like, okay, like how well do we compare? What do we need to fill? And we have now the offseason to fill it. That way, then we can at least come to next season like say, hey, we've watched the Gators game 20 times, 30 times, and like we saw we need to fill these gaps and go from there. So either way, I think this is going to be a win for us. If it might not be in the scoreboard, cool, but just in the trajectory of the standard we want to raise, I'm happy to see what that looks like. But end of the day, it's going to be a game. So, this is now where I'm trying to feed Daryl lots of hot wings with lots of sauce and cinnamon buns. It's goat fuel, and see what he can make work. Like I would absolutely love it to have a game where it's like, just absolute back forth, Merchant and Leeson, you got, young gun into the league versus the legend, just back and forth. Like how exciting of a product would that be?
It would be awesome, honestly, if that can be that's what we want in this league, right? And I think that's what the Gators want too. Like I can't imagine that the Gators are happy winning every game by 30 points. I mean, it's not as fun. You do want to get tested, and especially going into the championship next week and then going into the Nationals, which we all expect them to be in. So, and if they make it there, like I always cheer for the AFL team when they go to Nationals because, like, fuck the Ontario League and fuck GTA and their cocky attitude. I hope whoever's down there, most likely the Gators, just absolutely pumps those guys. Yeah, quickly before we go, I've got to wrap up here, but quickly on the All-Star selections, I think I kind of talked about it a little bit already when I went on my rant, but from a more serious standpoint, I think this is not a perfect... It's not a perfect model. It never is, right, guys? Like, there's always so many people that complain. And a lot of times, again, like I said, the complaining is just stupid. Like, you guys sound idiotic when you don't actually put thought into it. Like, it becomes where guys are like, well, I don't like that guy, so I don't think that he should be on the list. Or I like my teammate, so he should be on the list. And, like, that's all fine and good. But, like, a lot of the times you just sound like idiots that don't understand football, don't understand the schedule, don't understand the position or whatever it might be. But I thought that overall this has gotten better with the league. I think, I'm obviously the first one to criticize the league for many things, but I'm also, like, I've always said this, I try to be as genuine and as honest as I can on the podcast because that's the whole point of the podcast, and I don't really care. I literally give zero fucks about what people think of me or what people think of my opinion. Obviously, we get a lot of listeners to the podcast, so we must be doing something right. And I get shit talk about the podcast all the time, which just means you think about me, which is great. So we must be doing something right. So I'm going to keep doing that. And I think that in this situation, I think there's a few snubs, which there always will be. But I think the league did a pretty good job, to be honest with you. I think this was a solid list that seemed to have a little bit more thought put into it than maybe in other years. Like, there's been some silly ones. Like, I remember a couple years ago, a guy who only played 2 games was like a first-team All-Star, which was, like, obviously insane. But I think the 2 biggest snubs for me were, when I talked about this a little bit, but were Peter Lee. He led the league in receiving yards. He was matched up against him all game, and he had a couple catches against me, and I had 3 knockdowns against him actually, and he had I think he had 3 catches and I had 3 knockdowns, so we were pretty even in that game. But he, to me, was the best receiver in the league this year, and again, I covered I covered the best receiver on every team this year, and I felt like I don't think Okay, so here's the thing: I don't think Peter is the best receiver in the league. I think Ben Nadiak and Xavier are better receivers, but I think Peter had the best season in the league. Now, obviously, those Gators guys were pulled at halftime a lot and couldn't put up the numbers. So there's a significant difference between who is the better receiver talent-wise, which would be Ben and Xavier are better than Peter, and who had the better season. And Peter had the better season. Now, obviously, Peter had more targets, played more games, all this stuff, but he still had the better season. And so him being snubbed is bad. Like that's not a great look. I think Peter, should have been a first-team All-Star. I think that's pretty clear. So I think that's easy. I think that the other big snub was Isaiah Rodgers. Two of his teammates got voted first-team All-Star, and he's better than both of them and had a better season. Not just is he in this situation, Isaiah is better than both those guys on his team and had better stats. So not sure how Isaiah got overlooked there. He definitely, in my opinion, watching the film, I really like his game. I like the way Isaiah plays football. I like the way he plays DB. I thought that Alex Isaac should have got some love there. Maybe, his stats might have not been there. But again, because, that defense wasn't on the field a whole lot. He didn't have those opportunities to make stats, and people don't really throw at him. So, but when I watch from a corner perspective and I watch the intricacies of the game, I think he's a guy that provides fear to the opponent, and they don't throw at him as much. But when you watch what he does and the job that he does his job better than most at that position. And he's a guy that, him and I have, been in the league almost the same amount of time. He took a few years off, but I've always loved his game. I've watched his film and emulated some of the stuff he did. Because, when I came into this league, I was a receiver. I was a receiver my entire life until I came to the Bucks. And they were basically a fair play team, and were like, well, we have 80 receivers and no DB. So that's when I started to play DB. So I had to watch guys like Alex Isaac to learn certain techniques and to see how the best in the league were doing it. So I think he should have got some love, at least as a second-team All-Star, even though obviously the stats weren't there. But again, that's there's an asterisk there because of certain things. But what were your kind of thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
And I think that's kind of I know some of the Gators I know they're happy that some of the guys got it, and I think this is where the Gators, it's a kind of a deficit to their own success, where I think as a group they play really well, and I feel like their stats are so spread out to where it's very even. Because when I'm looking at the stats here, I look at I'm on the spreadsheet, defensive leaders, sacks. We all know that the Gators D line very dominant. They force the run, tackles for loss. I don't think we have a tackles for loss category here, but maybe that's one to add. You got Travis Dietrich, who had 2 sacks.
You have tackles for loss. Yeah, it's just in the tackles category.
Oh, okay, it's in the tackles category. Okay, yeah. So I'll double check that.
Donnie Scott had 13.
13.
That's crazy.
which is crazy. That's one thing where
that is nuts, bro. I'm just looking at him now. Donnie Scott had 25 solo tackles, and obviously he was named defensive MVP of the year, which is clearly the right decision. 25 solo, 12 assisted, 13 tackles for loss. How is that even possible? He played 6 games, so he was averaging over 2 tackles for loss a game, which is that's ridiculous. That's insane.
Yeah, which is nuts there. And then I know the DBs were, I think a couple of the Gators DBs are upset that they weren't, more than were included in the conversation. But when you look at the knockdown, I think you need to go INT and knockdowns. Where's the interceptions? No Gators show up in the top 10.
No Gators show up in the top 10. And
not trying to knock anyone. We're all looking at facts here, right? So everyone can please play your cover 10 when we get to the game here at 6:30. And then knockdowns, no Gators show up. And I think that's maybe because it's all maybe spread out. They play I don't know, they play their own success maybe doesn't help them on the stat side of things, but they're winning rings. So what would you rather have?
But this is the thing that I'm saying, right? I've when I was president of the league, my idea was to have an all-star committee, and the committee would would not just look at the stats, but would go and like you'd have a committee that would be, you have a DB like myself, and then a linebacker, and then a D-line and an O-line that understand the position, right? Because I don't know what to look for, outside of stats as a D lineman or outside of stats as an O-line. Well, O-linemen don't even get stats. But I wanted to have like a committee where there was a position player from each group that could watch film, would take time to watch film and be like, hey, this guy maybe doesn't show up on the stat sheets, but this guy is doing a job. The reason he doesn't show up on the stat sheets is because, in Alex Issik's case, is because nobody wants to throw him the football. Or in a lot of the Gators DBs, standpoints, it's like they're 2 and out every time. They don't have the opportunity to get stats. Like how many times do you think the ball was thrown to Alex all year? Maybe 2 times? So how does he get stats when the ball is thrown to him 2 times? Well, the ball is thrown to him 2 times because he's doing his job so damn well. So I think that kind of stuff should be recognized, not just your numbers and your stats. So that's kind of my thing about it, and that's why it needs to be more refined. And that was kind of my idea when I was president, of like having a committee that had a position group from each position that said, hey, no, look, this guy is a dog. This D lineman, he didn't have, 13 tackles for losses, but he was getting double teamed every single time, which allowed his teammate to be free to set up this stuff. So this guy deserves to be recognized, right? That's kind of my thought process on it. So it's always going to be a bit, whatever, imperfect, right?
And like it's never perfect. I feel like every All-Star list has a snub list. I feel like if anything, they should make a All-Star snub list just so that the guys can get some recognition where it's loose. It's like looser categories there because, it's never perfect. Like, I think I know I got, maybe is this a second year we got both AFU hosts on the All-Star list? I got second team, you got first team. So we'll take that as a dub in our corner.
Yep.
And I think people were saying, like, how did I get it when I didn't have that great rushing yards? But, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like me being that fullback, hey, buddy, just chill with that, please, for a sec. Being that fullback, high rolling, maybe the pass pro didn't got considered, or, like, the touchdowns. Like I only got 3 this year, but I don't know. You never know, but I would like to think of, like, if I was to take any player on the All-Star list, myself, yourself, and we put it on a different team, we're going to make an impact. Like say we put you on the Jets, right? That's instantly a boost there. You put me with the Jets. I don't know. I feel like I operate better in a 2-back system versus a fullback. Like, run games gets increased or pass protection gets increased. All those different dynamics that I feel like they're tangible things that you can see, and as well intangible things like for linemen, for D linemen, the intangible things that are like, hey man, like this guy's not putting up stats, but he's making it hard to where we can't run this side, we can't blitz this side, we can't, all those things.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
never perfect.
Well, and the players know, and that's that was kind of my idea when I was president of the league, of like having a committee, because the players know, right? Like I know for a fact the receivers that are the toughest to cover, and for a fact the linebackers that are the hardest to block, right? These are things that don't show up on film as much. They don't show up in the stats. It's just players kind of know. So I feel like if there was some sort of committee that had a say in things, that put names forward, there was kind of a way to do it. We could be a little more precise with this. Last thing I'll say, I think the league awards, like the MVPs and stuff for the league, were pretty good. I think the only thing I'd change, and look, I talked about how good I think Daryl's been, and I've talked about how good I think Bryce has been. I would switch those two. I would have given Daryl the Offensive Player of the Year, and I would have given Bryce the MVP of the league, just because I don't think that an MVP should come from a team that won one game. So it's hard for me to say you're the most valuable player when your team won one game in the regular season. So that would be, again, I think Daryl had and I've talked about this, fantastic season. Not taking anything against Daryl. I think Bryce was the best player in the league. I think by far. like if you're asking me to draft a football team right now in the AFL, and I got a pick and I got the first pick, it's Bryce Harper, and I don't even think about it. It just immediately is going to be Bryce Harper. So, and his team won all the games. And he had a big part in that. So Daryl had a fantastic season. I think Offensive Player of the Year should have went to him, and I think MVP should have went to Bryce. Just, because of Bryce is the guy I'm picking first overall in any draft all day long, every day. I think he makes everybody else better around him, and I can build my team around him. And then, it's hard. Like, what is most valuable player? You won one game, and again, not taking anything away from Daryl, but that would be my one change on the awards aspect. Daryl gets offensive MVP, and Bryce gets the league MVP.
And I think one thing that I found, like, it's always been an idea, and I've talked about it before. It'd be fun to do an AFL top 50 players, or like maybe we pick a number. Nice thing now with the spreadsheet we have, like for tracking all the stats, we can see all the players that are registered and everything, so you can like pull the names and everything and go from there. I think it'd be really cool to see do a top 50, figure out a form that can everyone vote, and then it's like, hey, these are voted by your peers, top 50, and maybe that could mean more of like I'm selected top 10, top 50, or whatever, just because like all different players and everything, because they can all rank. So I think that'd be a really cool idea, and I think we're one step closer to being able to do that.
That'd be sweet. Maybe that's something we look into for next year. I know our boy there, Wizard, with the CJFL does that. And I think people enjoy that. So I think maybe doing that next year in the preseason, kind of once we kind of are aware of players on each team. I think doing even if we did like a top 30, to make it a little bit easier, but that'd be something cool to kind of add. And I think maybe we just make our own AFU All-Star and Awards list to kind of go along with the league as well. And there's different things that we can do. I think you and I are pretty tied into the league. We watch a lot of film. We play the game still. We kind of understand what's going on. So a lot of times the people voting for these things, a lot of them aren't players or are just coaches or aren't even involved in the actual on-field stuff. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. It's a solid hour, which is pretty good in the middle of the day. We're gonna hopefully just get this out right away so people can listen to this before the games. And Cold Lake's probably still on the bus. Good luck to all the teams tonight. Grand Prairie, sorry, but I hope you get absolutely smoked because your boy Samson there talking too much shit and trolling me and just getting really, really annoying. Like, it takes a lot to get kind of under my nerves because people talk so much shit to me, especially since the podcast started. Like, I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. Trolling me for 2 years online has just become cowardly. That was pretty funny. I'm not going to lie. So anyways, challenge was there. Can't wait to do that challenge with you next year, buddy. Bring your $1,000 cash. Good luck to you tonight. Omari, the biggest thing I wish tonight is that it's a really good game. I hope that you guys are able to ball out. I'm happy for the Wolfpack. Like, having played on the Wolfpack with a lot of guys, like, I had one of the most fun years I ever had was playing for the Wolfpack. So I hope you guys do well. Good luck to teams tonight. Should be good games. Hopefully we can tune into the live streams, and we'll recap everything and preview the championship game next week. Omari, go ahead and close us out.
Kurt, listening to this, Donnie Scott, play cover 10. Appreciate everyone tuning in. It's been as always, an exciting season of AFL football. We're in the heat of playoff here. Middle of August, we got the Stampede season, wedding season, you name it, kind of season all happening through, but AFL season prevails. You can always check out all AFU episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere where you get your podcasts. You'll see this up on YouTube as well. And look, let's have some fun today. Stay healthy. Bring the family out, the kids out, all that good stuff. Let's all put out a good product of football and have some fun here. So with that being said, appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Cool. See you guys.